Juggling motherhood and modern day life can be stressful and relentless, but it doesn't need to be this way. The Joy of Being podcast is the answer to maternal mental health, bringing sustainable relief and calm to hardworking mums everywhere so that you, your family and work can thrive. My name's Marina Pearson and I'm your host, transformational coach and mum who loves to interview business owners, transformational professionals and creatives to have insightful conversations about what it takes to really live a life that is thriving, fulfilling and full of joy. And today I've got some amazing news. You can now order your very own version of the Joy of Being book, supporting hardworking mums to stress less and live more. If you're the type of mum who is struggling with the burdens of motherhood or modern day life, then this will be a perfect book for you. If you're curious, you want to know more and you want to see what's up with that book, you can do so at www.marinapearson.com/book. And on today's show, I have the beautiful Emma Learman and Kate Eversole, both founders of the Being Fest in London. Being Fest is actually a 2-day event where mums and mums-to-be can come and find out information around health, fitness, mindfulness, and everything in between to look after themselves. So on this podcast episode, we talked about their journey into motherhood, both women being from high-flying careers and talking about the year that they had out to create this beautiful and wonderful event in London. We also talked about the pitfalls of not looking after yourself and actually the reasons why we need to. So if you are a mum who is really struggling in the first year or even second year or third year, this is going to be an amazing episode for you as we really created a very raw and real conversation around health and how we can look after ourselves. Enjoy. So welcome everybody. And on today's show, I've got a really interesting guest that popped up into my awareness about 2 to 3 months ago when one of the guests that has actually been on this show already, Emily, tried to put out a shout out for this particular event in London for mums and mums to be. And I got really curious about that. So I took a little bit of a gander and to see who was running it. And it was Kate and Emma. So welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Great to be here. Hi, everyone.
So I wanted to start with a little bit about what had you decide to create a wellbeing event for mums to be and mums in London? What was it that sort of spurned this willingness, this vision for you to carry this forward, Kate?
Me and Emma are really good friends anyway. I happened to get pregnant within 3 weeks of each other. So it's been really, really good for us because it means we've had someone that's already a friend, someone part of our community going through kind of this journey with us. So if someone's having a bad day or if someone's been confused, we've kind of just been able to, hop on the phone very quickly. And one of the things we kind of realized is we've never used Google as much when we've been pregnant, because like the first time, like, I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but it's something that we both wanted so much, and then you just the worry that comes with it, like, are you doing everything right, is everything okay? I remember feeling I was so sick with Edie, and I remember that one day not throwing up, and I was like, oh my God, something's wrong. So obviously I just Googled everything, and we kind of thought, are we getting the right information from Google? Because sometimes blogs are great, but are you getting information from experts, and how available is this information and how reliable is it? And we thought, actually, what would have been really helpful is if we could all kind of come together with people that know what they're doing, people that are personal trainers, that have a specialty in pre and postnatal, people that are nutritionists who have a specialty in fertility, just so we could ask them all the questions we're Googling. So that's kind of where the idea stemmed off from.
So it's kind of like a live event for you've taken Google and put it into a live experience.
Yeah. All under one roof.
All under one roof. And Emma, was that sort of your journey too? Was that was that your experience of being pregnant as well?
We actually had very different experiences, which again, then, as Kate said, she had one day where she wasn't being sick and she was like, is everything okay? And then I had Kate telling me every day that she was really ill, but my pregnancy was amazing. I didn't feel sick. I wasn't sick. But then I'm kind of Googling away being like, does this mean everything's okay or not? Very different experiences, but both kind of wanted the same out of it, in terms of we were just like, hang on, there's nothing out there where we can get these answers and know that they're from like trusted sources. And also we've both always been really interested in kind of like health and fitness and that sort of thing. And, we both continuously exercise throughout our pregnancies, which again, obviously brings even, am I doing the right thing? Am I not? And just making sure we were going to the right classes and eating the right food. So yeah, kind of same, but different experiences. But from that, we both kind of had the idea of being, and that's where it all stemmed from.
That's amazing. So in that event, so what was then? Okay, yeah, let's do a live event. Let's help mums come to this amazing sort of, I guess they can ask the questions, they can do the sessions. What was then the after plan? So they come and get the information, and then what? So what was the sort of feeling that you would want them to kind of move away into their life?
Just to feel empowered, I guess, and to kind of, having a baby nowadays is very different to when our mums had babies. It has such an impact on women's lives, whether that's mentally, physically, your career, like your whole life. And we just kind of wanted to bring all the specialists together to help empower new mums to kind of make the decisions that they'll need to make once they've had a baby.
And even things like, to that point, Emma, even things like breastfeeding. Like, I know when my mum had me, she said you were in hospital for 2 weeks, and you got the support there. So when you left hospital after those 2 weeks, you were happy and confident breastfeeding. I had Edie at 4 a.m, and I was home by 10 a.m. So and then I just panicked that she wasn't getting what she needed. So I think it would be great for people to be able to speak to, for example, using that example, a breastfeeding expert before, so they know what's going to they know what could happen potentially after they've given birth, so they feel safe, they feel secure, like Emma said, they feel empowered, they feel like they're not alone, because I think that's the other element. Me and Emma were lucky to go through this journey together, but if you might not get pregnant at the same time as your friends, and then you kind of know that there's this community behind you, that there's not just a community of people going through it, but a community of experts as well, that if you do need something, you can ask that crowd.
No, I can really hear that. Like, I remember a friend of mine saying to me when I was pregnant, she said, "Oh, yeah, wait until the baby's actually born. I don't, that's when it gets really tough." And I don't think I ever really listened to her, because when he was born, I was like, "Why didn't you tell me it was this hard?" And she said, "No, I did." I did kind
It's so true, though.
I did tell you. And you just seem to go, yeah, and then not really kind of follow down that train of conversation. And so for me, it was just, I really struggled in the first 2 years, actually. I can really see why moms decide, walk away from babies. I really could understand that, because I had what has been coined as postnatal depression, but I didn't know that at the time. And it felt like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. And there was something I really wanted to, because I know that motherhood, I know that giving birth and having a child is natural. Like you see animals doing it in the wild, right? So that we're no different. We're no different. The only thing that we got going on is all this neuroses up here, right? It's pretty much
for something so natural. It's like the hardest thing that no one can really prepare you for.
No, and I was talking to a friend of mine and a client the other day, and it's really interesting because in different cultures they have something called they have like 40 days of bed rest. So mums just basically go, right, I'm bed rest for 40 days, and the family and the village take care of the baby.
A village raises a child,
right? And that sounds like a bloody wonderful, amazing situation. But unfortunately, in this day and age, we don't get that luxury anymore. And especially in the States, for example, where they are back after 6 weeks. I mean, I remember 6 weeks going, cesarean section going, I can't even remember my name.
My sister lives in the US, and her baby was born with bad kidneys. So he had to have a operation on the first day of his life. So she had a C-section. He was in intensive care for 6 weeks, and she was back to work. He was home for 1 day before she had to go back to work. Yeah.
Wow.
So then you look at our maternity, and she's been, because I've taken a year off, and she's just like, you're so lucky to have that time. So like we can, thank you, UK, for the maternity time, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, and also just I think there's a sense that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and to get it right and to be the best mum we can be, and then beat ourselves up when something goes wrong, but not realizing actually that we can ask for help, and there is no shame in not feeling that you're actually coping. And I think that there seems to be this thing of like supermum syndrome, where it's like literally, I'm fine, I can get on with this, everybody else seems to be coping, I'll just cope on my own, I'll be fine. But actually there is no shame in sharing, actually I feel like shit, and I'm losing the plot, and I don't know where I've gone. I remember, I don't know if this has happened to you or not, but there was an epiphany moment for me where I was looking at my wardrobe, and all I saw was clothes pre-Leo, like pre-mama, right?
Yeah.
Which I could not get into. So I don't know why they were hanging up in the wardrobe. And then mama. And they were all breastfeeding tops and like jumpsuits and comfortable clothing, right? But there was nothing post, like there was nothing for the woman, right? There was nothing for Marina, the woman, the sexy woman. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, where have I gone? It was like that sort of wake up moment. Did you find that happened?
Yeah. Yeah, my sister.
Totally.
My sister again came over as soon as Edie was born, and I was living in Tom's shirts and leggings, and she was like, you can't live like this. She was like, get in the shower, we're going out. Yeah, so absolutely, I hear you. And then we ended up going shopping.
What about you, Emma?
Sometimes you just do need that shopping moment to kind of, and also I think you have to, you can spend so much time staring at your pre-baby clothes that you're just, let's be honest, we're not going to get into them. Some might not get into them again. Some it will take a while. Like I had a friend call me last week. She's got a 2-month-old, and she was like, my jeans still don't fit me, and I was like, yeah, it's been 2 months and they're not going to fit you for a good while, so don't even bother trying them on. But I work in the fashion industry, so there was moments at the end of my pregnancy, and I just would stare at my wardrobe thinking, it's just never going to happen. I'm never ever going to get to enjoy any of you again. And then obviously you have the baby, and now I'm kind of, I spend the majority of my time in leggings and matched t-shirts and jumpers, as Kate said, which I'm really comfortable in. But every so often I just stare at my wardrobe, and I think you do have that moment where you just like, do you know what? Like, not that you're leaving that person behind, but you are entering a new stage of life, and sometimes just treating yourself to a couple of new bits will actually just make you feel like really great and having a pair of jeans that do fit you perfectly, there's not a better feeling than that horrendous feel, as opposed to that horrendous feeling of just not being able to get your jeans done up. I think we've all been there, haven't we?
It's really interesting though, but I think to know this and understand this can really help, because it's I didn't realize how much my body would change. How much my body
it's such a shock,
right? Especially because I had him older. Are you what ages are you? Of course you're like in your 20s.
I'm 34.
Okay, so you're still
35.
Right. So I had Leo at 38, and so my body was already kind of on a trajectory of change, right? And suddenly it was like, oh my God, where have my boobs gone? Because they used to be like
gravity, yeah.
and yeah, my tummy, and I'm like, oh, but if I had known this, if I had known that this was normal, that was actually something that's part of the process, I think my acceptance of it would have been far quicker than it has been.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because I think everyone's journey is different. Like I know people that have fitted into their jeans within 6 weeks and back to their normal size. But it took me a year to get back to get back into my normal clothes. So it's really, really, it's difficult because you might be lucky.
You might be.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got friends that went out and then went back in again as if they didn't have any children at all. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Each of us. But I guess it's also nice to know what's available to us and that this might be something that we might have to have the experience of. So it's a possibility as opposed to it not being, as opposed
100%.
to, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's also a mindset as well. It's like, our bodies have gone through this incredible thing, and I think it's more kind of like preparing yourself to the fact that if it does take longer than you'd hoped, or if it doesn't happen, it's like what your body's gone through and what and the child that you now have. It's like everything is worth it. It's just the mental preparation, and you will get back to it. And it's like once you get that. The thing is, we don't prioritize ourselves once we have a baby, do we? And it's kind of finding the time. There's so much to fit in the day that exercise just sometimes falls to the back. And unfortunately, we actually need that exercise. I mean, like for me, I love going to exercise. As soon as Matt gets home and I go to an exercise class, like my exercise instructor says to me, I've never seen anyone walk into a class with such a smile on their face. And I'm like, this is the only time I get to myself. Like, I absolutely love it. And I think getting in the endorphins pumping, and when people say about endorphins, like it's so true. Like, and you just can't underestimate that feeling. But for me, that's, each to their own. But for me, like that's my kind of go-to and like my me time.
And this kind of brings me on to really sort of, it's not even controversial subject, but it's certainly something that I've seen over working with mums over time. And women, actually, it's not just mums, that we tend to think that looking after ourselves is actually an indulgence. So I love the fact that you guys are putting this actually at the forefront of conversation, because it's not an indulgence. It's actually something that's needed as for us to work. I mean, we forget that it's an investment. It's not a spend, right? And it's a,
well, if you don't look after you, how are you going to look after the child? If you're sick, or if you're stressed, or if you're not happy, like baby feeds on all of that, doesn't he or she? So I think, you do need to look after you. Yeah. That's what they say. Happy mama, happy baby.
Yeah, definitely.
That's our mission.
Yeah.
But I love it because I'm on a mission to do the very same thing. And, what happens also, I guess, in this lifestyle that we have these days, in the modern lifestyle, is that everything gets so quick and so busy and people are rushing around, and it's kind of normal. But actually, I would say that it's not normal. It looks normal, but maybe it's just not natural. You know, if you look at dogs and cats, for example, they just lie around all day. Like, I'm not saying that that's what we need to do, but we can learn a lot from animals, right? They just hang out. They go for a walk in the morning, they hang out, and they go for a walk in the evening, they eat a little bit, and that's pretty much their life. It's pretty simple. And I know that we have to make money, and I know that we have to work, and I know that we have to do all of these things. But I also see something very interesting, which is packing way too much into our lives and beating ourselves up about the fact that we can't be achieving what we used to achieve because we have to look after a little person, right?
And I think something's going wrong in general at the moment. Like, if you look at I think the rates of stress, the rates of depression, the rates of people, calling in sick for work are the highest in the UK that they've ever been. So something at the moment in our society is wrong. And, from what I've read, is it that you don't get to ever switch off from work because you've always got your work phone on, so you're always contactable. Is it that you're trying to do too much because of, to your point earlier, that there's so many expectations and you see so many people now. So you see so many people online seem to be having kind of the perfect life. And then you kind of put that pressure on yourself. So I think, there's something going wrong at the moment. So kind of going back to basics, like what's important to you, what's important to your baby, eating, sleeping, moving.
Like dogs and cats.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Have a little chat with you, have a little walk with your mates. Perfect.
But I think the narrative needs to change. And I think this is where what you're doing, I think, is wonderful because, the Being Fest is really about changing that narrative. And the narrative I see right now is that I don't have time for my own self-care. I don't have time I feel guilty when I take the time out. Is my self-care an indulgence? I should be able to cope on my own, and I feel ashamed if I don't. And we need to change the narrative to putting that at the top of the list. So it has to be at the top, or at least a priority. And to change the narrative around that, which is to say, as you said before, this is actually something that we all need to take into consideration because it is actually the fundamental of life. I had a little pyramid that I drew the other day, and I think most of us, and I don't know if you agree, which is we put work at the bottom, as in that's the majority of time that we spend. Then we have looking after child and others. And then at the top is the me, sort of like looking after me bit. I think that's pretty much like how most of us live. And then we've got what you're up to in the world, which is self-care, me at the bottom, which takes up the biggest part of the pyramid, which is the stability, right? Then you've got, others and whatever. And then the work can come at the top. But societally, we've seemed to have gone the other way. In other words, the former versus the latter.
Why do you think that is?
Well, education. And I don't know if you agree with this or not. And I don't know, you might have some insights into this too, because obviously you're in this world. But when I was educated, the number one value was to achieve something, right? It was to get them. It was to get marks. It was to get the top marks in the class. It was to, how much did you get out of your test, right? What did you achieve? Society and education is set up for achievement, but is it set up for? Did you enjoy doing that maths equation and putting the focus on the journey? Not on the end result. So this way in which we've come to see this is that achievement is actually more important than the enjoyment of it. That's kind of where I'm sitting with this right now. So we strive to achieve, to gain accolades of busyness, accolades of I'm doing. But actually, are you enjoying any of it? Are you actually being in the journey of it and experiencing it in a way that actually lights you up? That's kind of what I'm seeing. But I don't know, do you have a different way of seeing this?
I agree with the with kind of your conclusions there. The that I think what you said was really poignant about being busy as a sign of achievement. And I don't know if it's even more so that I see it with kind of my friends in London, because it is like, we go to work, what are we doing after work? Have you seen like the latest, I don't know, have you been to the latest pop-up or whatever? It is the kind of busy. But I don't know if it's, I'm trying to think about, and I don't know if I have an answer to this, about the why element, and if it is kind of that education and that focus on, like you said, on achievement. Because just from my own kind of experience, and I've got lots of friends that are teachers, and my parents were both teachers, and their focus very much is on the enjoyment. So if you speak to, like my mum, for example, taught for years, but so like I've always been brought up with, are you kind of happy doing what you're doing? Is it, well, do what makes you feel good. That's been a really important mantra to us. But whether my mum's a one-off and you surround yourself by like-minded people often, don't you? You surround yourself, your friends end up kind of having the same values as you. And, my friends that are teachers, I know they promote those values in school, and like I've got a good friend that's a year 6 teacher, and she doesn't focus on the stats at all, because she says it's all about, they'll do them in that week, and we'll teach them to it, but it's all about, at this level, it's all about enjoying education. We want them to want to come to school. We want them to want to enjoy that thing of learning. So it's really difficult, but I wonder if like phones, the biggest trend in the last 20 years is that we can do everything from our phones. So we're distracted. We need to feel busy. We need to see what everyone else is doing. It's very hard to live in the moment when you've got that, phone going off, or you can see what other people are doing. I don't know.
Well, it makes sense, which is why you're doing what you're doing there. Okay.
Yeah, no phones allowed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, even we couldn't take a year off for our maternity. We thought, you know what? Let's put a festival together for mums.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's been good.
It's like, everyone else is enjoying this time, and we're like, yeah, let's put an amazing festival together.
But I also, maybe there is something around identity here too. If I'm not doing anything, am I?
Yeah.
And I had a big epiphany around this when I was pregnant with Leo, because I was very much on that train of, because at the time, I've sold a best-selling book. It's been translated into 4 different languages. I've had a TED talk. I've done a lot of really cool shit. And so what happened was I became very wrapped up in that identity of achievement, right? So if I'm achieving, then I am of value. If I am achieving, then I am someone in the world. And I remember distinctly when I used to work in the music industry, my positions in the business were really important to me. So I was, export sales manager. And then when I left that position and went to New York to do a master's in music business, I ended up being an intern, because it didn't matter what I'd done in the past. But that was massively, that was a real kick to my identity, because at the time I was so wrapped up in, this is what I'm up to, this is what I do. And I was very attached to that. And so then what happened in this moment when I was I was lying one night and I was breathing in and out, and suddenly this new question popped up in my head, which is, who are you when I'm just lying here and nobody really knows what you're up to? And all I heard was, I am. And I was waiting for what? I am what? And that's all I heard. And I realized, oh my God, I am. That's it. There's no, yes, I am a mother, but these are roles I play. They are not my identity. And that was a huge shift to help me just calm down. And yes, it's great to achieve, but not be attached to it and not to see it as part of my identity, so that you can actually really enjoy. So anyway, that was just something that I've come to see, that often we think our roles are actually who we really are. I don't know if that resonates at all.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm going through that at the moment. Obviously, coming to making those choices about what's next, and yeah, it's kind of weighing up, what your career was, what it's going to be, what is it now, and it's like so many questions. I woke up this morning and messaged Kate, didn't I, to say that I didn't sleep much because I had all these things going through my head. I think, because it's coming to the end of maternity, it's just weighing all those things up, and now kind of leaving that maternity bubble of what is life at the other side, which is also exciting but daunting, and all of the emotions. Just kind of figuring that out at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you. One of the things that keeps me grounded at the moment, and that I keep to your idea about you were lying there and thinking I am. One of the things I always think is that kind of age-old saying that on your deathbed, and you're never going to think, I wish I spent more time in the office. You're always going to think, everyone always says, I wish I had more time with my family. I wish I had more time with my friends. So kind of those ideas that we've talked around about being present, self-care, doing the things you really enjoy. They're the things you're going to, and when I talk to my grandparents or my parents, they're the things that people, they're happy times that they look back on now. So I think it's always good to kind of have that on the back of your mind, but it's difficult. I'm kind of negotiating my back to work, and it's really, really difficult, like that. I'm in terms of having that identity crisis, because we're not. It's where I've been offered a promotion, but at the same time, I don't know how I can do it and be able to pick Edie up from nursery, which is something that I really want to be able to do. So do I not do it when I've worked for so long and so hard, or do I, and then if I don't do it, I'll be going to work and have that stigma, oh, she did turn this down because she's a mum now, so she doesn't necessarily care about her career. Or so I think me and Emma are both going through this kind of at the moment, and I just don't know what to do because I feel like I've earned it, but at the same time, going back to what I said, being there for Edie is kind of my priority at the moment.
What makes the most sense to you? If you could have what you want, what would it look like?
Just working a few really long days, so doing the job, but then having some just flexibility.
Can you get that?
I'm trying, and they've been very good. To be fair, they've been brilliant while I've been on mat leave. They were brilliant when I was really sick, and I couldn't even get to the office for a month. They just said, just do whatever you can. They've been really, really supportive. So we're trying to work it out, but it's it's difficult. So how did you manage it? Did you take it once you had Leo? Did you take a step back then? And
I left the working world way before that.
Yeah. Was it that night?
No. So I got made redundant 3 times in the music industry. At that point, I just said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I kind of went on my own journey. So I haven't actually worked in an office for about 12 years now. so I don't know. I just don't know what I would have done if that was the case. So I don't, my whole thing has been more around, how the hell do I make money and still have a child? So my journey hasn't been around what can I negotiate. It's more like, oh my fuck, like how the fuck can I make any money?
Yeah, how can I pay the mortgage?
Yeah.
Right. and so that's been my journey, and I've come to a really good place with it now where it's working. So, but it's been a 12-year journey with it. Like, it hasn't been overnight at all. And so what I've realized is that we have this capacity to be super creative. So it's never about the circumstances. It's about what's possible, what we want. And then, is there a way in which we can negotiate something that works for both of us? So it's the creative idea, or it's literally the hey, actually, what if we did it this way? And right and wrong. Like I've done things that haven't worked. I've done things that have worked. I've done things that aren't working and are working. It's one big experiment, really, I think.
Yeah. That's not like the festival, of course, but we've gone on this.
If only we all had a crystal ball.
Yeah, and we've learned so much just by going through this journey. And one of the things that's made me kind of realize is, I think there's lots of new mums out there who have gone through something similar to kind of all of us. They've gone, actually, how can I, like you said, how can I balance being there for my child and making money for both of us to survive? And I think a lot of mums go into starting their new thing. Like, we've got lots of mum-led baby products that are coming to the festival. We've got mum-led PTs, mum yoga. We've got like all these mums that have stopped their career in the city or something and have started their own thing because or lots of retreats I've seen. But I've also seen lots of feedback of how difficult it is, because I think, you can see this gap. And actually, like, we looked at, originally we saw this gap and thought, actually, maybe we can do like small retreats. And that market's really, really crowded now for, pregnancy retreats or postnatal retreats. And I think, like, yeah, it's really, really difficult. So we've had people getting in touch with us saying, they're shutting down or they're having really difficulty filling spots. I don't think it's, so then you get the stress of, like you said, of trying to make a business that will hopefully look after you, give you the flexibility you need. And then the stress of building a business on its own is hard. So, yeah, it's a really difficult position, I think.
Yeah, it is. And I really, I think, you've definitely either got to have a lot of time on your hands, or you've got to also have the resources. And you've definitely got to have a plan B, C, and D. Because I run retreats here in Spain for mums, and are they easy to fill? Sometimes. Are they other times? No, so it's really random, but I don't necessarily just rely on that being as my income. So I've set it up so I've got multiple streams of income. So if one isn't doing so well, I know that that's okay, because I've got another one that will carry that forward. So I've set it up in a way that actually helps me in that respect. But that's not everybody's situation, and they're absolutely right. I think it's one big experiment. The only thing that we can really do is listen on the inside. I mean, I think that's the only thing that we've all got going for us, is this wisdom that's with us 24/7 that can guide us through these situations in life. And the way I see it is that if we can get quiet enough and still enough, that's actually where the answers come from, that we can really listen. So stress, overwhelming, anxiety, all of that stops us from really being able to listen to what's needed in any given moment. And while wisdom is always with us, I find that it's a lot easier to listen to it when I'm more quiet. Yeah.
I don't know if you've been. The other thing to go alongside that, I think, is the idea of positivity and the idea of kind of having that, like you said, that calm space, but actually thinking positively and visualizing, positive thoughts. And I think that's kind of something that's, I don't know if anyone saw, if anyone watches the cricket, but yesterday there was, how I know, like, I this is like a fluke that I happened to be on, but there's apparently this amazing, like, Australian batsman, and we just can't get him out. And he did an interview last night, and he said, I visualize every shot. I know exactly what's going to happen, and I use positive visualization, and that's kind of my tool. So yeah, I think if it can work for, and they're saying he's like the best batter that's ever existed or something, that can work for him. I think I can take a little bit from that too. People will buy tickets. The event will be fine.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've had moments where I've been thinking about something, then I forget about it, and then literally it shows up in my world, maybe a couple of days later, maybe a year later. So there's something in that. There's something in wanting something but not being attached to it. There's something in knowing that your security and well-being doesn't lie in that thing working out. That there's something in just going, that would be really fun. I want to see if this can work out. And if not, that's okay too.
Oh, it's hard though, isn't it?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's so hard. Because to your point about, your identity, and I'm kind of bringing that like home now, and I'm thinking, oh, you say that, but if this festival, if people turn up to this festival and don't have a great day, I think I will be upset.
And so, and that in and of itself, actually, everybody will have their own experience of the day, right? Everybody,
yeah, exactly.
Everybody will. I have an Airbnb here at the villa in the summer. It's so interesting to me. So I hope this might be helpful to you. So we just got a 2.5. And the out of 10, right? We've now got a 2.5 before. It's horrible. Then she basically said everything right was awful, right? And aside, we've had 10s, we've had 8.5s, we've had 7.5s, we've had 10s and whatever. And I was like, wow. Like, to me, that says more about her state of mind than it does about what we offer. Because why is it then that we've got a few 10s going on, and then somebody comes along and gives you 2.5? That to me says more about them than it does about what we are all about and what we wanted to bring to light and what we wanted to create here. And so we've had people come back. We've had people say this is the best thing we've ever experienced before. And then we've had the odd one or two that goes, this is the best thing ever. What I've had to really learn is just to be okay. It isn't to see my experience. I'm not responsible for other people's experience. The only thing I can do is create something out of love and care with the best intent possible. That's the only thing that I've got any control over.
Great.
I don't know if you feel a bit better now.
Definitely going into my day more positively than I was this morning.
So, ladies, now the babies are awake.
Yeah, special guest.
That's I was curious. So if anybody wants to come to the Being Fest in London, they are a mum to be, they are a mum already, and they are frazzled, and they just like, oh my god, I really need some help. I really probably just need some support from mums who knows what the hell I'm going through. Where can they get in touch, and where can they book, Emma?
So if they head to beingfest.com, we've got all of the information there with all of our speakers, so you can read a bit about them and what they actually do, and then we've got the full agenda for both days. So just to reiterate that day one is kind of all is around fertility and pregnancy. So if you're trying or if you're pregnant, that's the day for you. And day two is all around kind of postnatal, new mums. But we also have weekend tickets if you're kind of just interested in everything. And yeah, you can buy tickets through the website. And we've also got our Instagram page as well, where we've we're posting like various bits of information and new speakers. So yeah, check us out, everyone.
Wonderful. And for those of you that have been on this who are listening to this podcast, they've kindly said that with the link that we will be giving here, you'll get a little discount as well if you come through having listened to this. So wonderful, everybody. Kate, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having us. And thanks for your good advice as well. We can control what we can control.
Yeah,
exactly. I feel like I'm going into my day much more positively now than when I woke up.
You're feeling a little bit lighter.
Yeah, exactly. This has been great.
And for those of you that do decide to go to the festival, I will be putting a little postcard in the goodie bag to give you access to my book called The Joy of Being, which is actually to help you mums calm down and actually listen to your wisdom more so that you actually navigate this whole motherhood and modern day life with more ease. So look forward to connecting. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
And there we have it, another amazing episode of The Joy of Being. If you enjoyed this podcast, you may well enjoy the book as well. You can either download a free chapter, www.marinapearson.com/chapter, where I go into much more depth into how we can create more time and space as mums. And if that doesn't fly and you're more curious about getting the entire book, then you can do that too at www.marinapearson.com/book. Until